Right now, next year, not in a decade, but this very moment, a colossal, silent transaction is underway. Over $30 trillion in collective wealth is being siphoned away from ordinary working people and quietly transferred into the hands of the top 1%. You don't see the theft because it's not happening in a dark alley. It's happening through sophisticated, institutional mechanisms. Look at the data flashing before your eyes. Inflation charts spiking violently, housing costs becoming mythical figures, corporations engaging in unprecedented stock buybacks. It's all fueled by central banks printing money at a speed humanity has never witnessed. You may sense an unfairness in the system, a feeling of running faster just to stay in the same place, and that intuition is correct. The most crucial questions are, how is this immense transfer being executed so flawlessly? Why is the public not recognizing the true cause of their diminished purchasing power? And who engineered this cyclical system that reliably enriches the same small group every time? Understand this. This is not a shadowy conspiracy. It is a meticulously documented historical and economic pattern, a signature cycle that has preceded the collapse of every great empire. In the next few minutes, we will not only expose the exact mechanical process behind this $30 trillion wealth transfer, but we will also reveal precisely what stage of the cycle we are currently living in, arming you with the knowledge to navigate it. This process is nothing new. It is a textbook economic phenomenon, a wealth transfer pattern that has been successfully deployed across millennia. Consider ancient Rome, where the debasement of currency through the addition of base metals led to hyperinflation, systematically destroying the savings of legionnaires and merchants, while the patrician elite used their access to credit and land to consolidate assets. Fast forward to Great Britain from 1900 to 1970, where the managed dilution of the pound sterling through war debt and central bank actions resulted in a steady hidden tax on savers leading to asset consolidation by those closest to the financial levers. Today, we are witnessing the United States executing a perfect repeat of this ancient script. Particularly since the crucial year of 1971, the pattern is always identical. Initial inflation is created to solve a short-term crisis. The currency's purchasing power weakens dramatically, and this engineered fragility inevitably causes asset bubbles, which only the elite are positioned to accumulate, ensuring that the currency weakening process becomes the ultimate tool for centralized wealth gathering. The astounding $30 trillion figure is being drained from the public through several interlocking and insidious mechanisms that feel like life, but are, in fact, systemic tools. The most crucial is inflation, which is not merely rising prices, but a silent theft of purchasing power. A hidden tax levied against every dollar you earn and save. This is compounded by debt expansion, where governments borrow trillions, and the cost of servicing that debt is indirectly paid by citizens via the very inflation that erodes their savings. Meanwhile, wage stagnation ensures that while worker productivity has soared over the past 5 decades, the true inflation-adjusted compensation for labor has barely budged, creating a widening gap between what people produce and what they are paid. Finally, asset inflation, specifically in housing, stocks, and commodities, outpaces income growth by an astronomical margin, forcing the middle class to rent or borrow at high rates, while those who already own assets see their wealth multiply effortlessly through pure currency dilution, where every new dollar printed makes all existing dollars intrinsically weaker. This continuous transfer of wealth is successfully executed using 3 primary powerful tools that are often mistaken for necessary functions of the economy. The first is central bank money printing, the primary engine, which operates under the pretense of liquidity or stimulus. However, newly created money does not enter the economy uniformly. It is injected directly into the financial system, flowing to banks, institutions, and major asset holders first. They get to spend the fresh, high-value money before it trickles down and causes inflation, purchasing assets at today's prices while the rest of society pays tomorrow's inflated prices. The second tool is corporate financial engineering, primarily through stock buybacks. Executives use cheap borrowed money to repurchase their own company's shares, artificially inflating the stock price and triggering massive profits for themselves and top shareholders without actually creating any new value. The final, inescapable tool is the debt dependency system, which forces citizens to rely on credit for fundamental necessities like housing, education, and healthcare. Every dollar paid in interest, whether to a mortgage lender, a student loan servicer, or a credit card company, is a direct upward flow of wealth, ensuring that labor subsidizes capital. The most effective part of this pattern is its invisibility. You do not notice it happening because the system is expertly designed for plausible deniability. The true cost of living crisis is cunningly disguised by the media and financial commentators as economic growth or temporary supply chain issues. The public narrative focuses relentlessly on nominal wage increases, completely ignoring the crucial metric, inflation-adjusted wages, which are barely above 1970s levels for many. Furthermore, the public is kept perpetually distracted by short-term political crises, cultural wars, and media scandals, ensuring their focus remains on superficial drama instead of complex structural economic truths. The elite use this designed complexity, jargon-laden reports, esoteric economic theories, to deliberately hide the simple, undeniable truth of what is occurring. People across the middle class feel poorer, less secure, and increasingly angry. Yet they cannot articulate the true reason why, because the very system is designed to make the cause seem too complicated to grasp. This wealth transfer process entered an alarming hyperacceleration phase between 2020 and 2024. The COVID-19 response involved the largest, most concentrated money creation event in the history of the United States, injecting trillions directly into the financial system within a few short months. The immediate consequence was an explosive surge in asset prices, stocks, real estate, and commodities, while the money supply itself diluted the value of every existing dollar. Data now confirms that the wealth of the top 1% has increased at the fastest pace in over 50 years. Housing became structurally unaffordable for first-time buyers in real time, locking an entire generation out of the primary means of middle-class wealth creation. Crucially, roughly 70% of all new wealth created since 2020 has been concentrated in just 10 large corporations and their shareholders, demonstrating the immense, funnel-like nature of the printing process. So, where exactly is the $30 trillion flowing? The mechanics of the transfer show a clear, defined destination. A significant portion flows into debt interest, enriching banks and large bondholders who hold the government's liabilities.
Housing.
Inflation transfers billions monthly from tenants and new buyers directly to institutional landlords and private equity firms who treat housing as a purely financial asset. Stock inflation is a direct benefit to corporate insiders and the already wealthy who own the majority of outstanding shares. Every single penny of currency dilution is a mandatory hidden tax that transfers purchasing power to those who own hard assets, which rise in value as the dollar falls. Furthermore, vast amounts of government spending, even on infrastructure or social programs, ultimately flow through major contractors, financial elites, and politically connected entities, completing the circle of transfer. This is the slow, continuous, and devastating erosion of middle-class savings, a hidden tax that requires no vote and generates no public resistance. This historical pattern carries a dark but predictable prognosis for the years 2025 through 2030. Without a fundamental structural change, the middle class will continue to shrink dramatically, being squeezed from both ends by stagnant wages and hyperinflating asset prices. The savings of ordinary people will lose their purchasing power at an accelerating speed, turning retirement accounts and emergency funds into shells of their former value. Assets will become increasingly concentrated in fewer hands, leading to a society of permanent asset owners and perpetual asset renters. The gap between wage earners, whose income is diluted by inflation, and asset owners, whose wealth is amplified by it, will become an unbridgeable chasm. The cycle is not merely continuing. It is reaching its final historical phase, which for many will feel like a return to economic feudalism.
Ow.
The game is not rigged. The game is the rig. They are not stealing your wealth through crude force or overt criminality, but through systems designed to look and feel normal, necessary, and functional. Once you recognize this documented historical pattern, once you can name the exact mechanisms, central bank printing, corporate buybacks, and debt dependency, you stop being a victim of the system and become an observer armed with powerful knowledge. Your awareness is the first step in financial defense. In the next video, we will expose the 5 non-traditional assets that these financial elites are quietly accumulating to protect their fortunes from the very $30 trillion transfer they helped facilitate, and why they are buying them now, before the general public truly wakes up to the seismic shift underway.